Daisla. My name is Michelle Fairchild. I'm from Roseburg, Oregon, and I'm a dental hygienist. Is that okay? I don't know what to do. What do I do with that? Oh, I'm supposed to have my hands over here too. Okay. And I worked there for a long time. And I got my first bachelor's degree at EOU in LeGrand. And after that was basically ready to apply to vet school. Sadly, I didn't get an interview my first year. And so I thought, okay, I'll wait, knowing it was a competitive program, and applied a second year, didn't get an interview. And then I thought, okay, I'm gonna give it another try, third year, see what happens. And still didn't get an interview. So at that point, in the middle of that whole process of those 3 years that I had graduated, I actually ended up leaving the vet clinic because I needed to make better money to save to go back to school. And so then I got a full-time job working for the Department of Transportation. And through my college career, when I was living in EOU, I had got like a summer job through them. So I kind of already had like established a little bit of a relationship with the crew there. And I ended up getting on permanently with striping crew. And I was very fortunate because they knew that I was planning on going back to school, but they still like wanted to invest in me as an employee. So I was able to get my CDL. And that can kind of leave open some more avenues for me now as I like continue on with a different career. And I remember I was sitting in the service truck, which like carries all of our paint around for striping crew, when I got my email saying that I had been accepted into the hygiene program. And I had no intentions of being a hygienist. Just the third year when I didn't get an interview to Oregon State, and I had gotten to a vet school in California and I got into a school in the islands, I just couldn't justify moving that far away from home anymore. Like my grandparents were getting old. I wanted to be close to them, and I knew I wanted to go to Oregon State. And so at that point I thought, what am I gonna do? I have to start looking down other avenues because like vet school wasn't panning out for me with where I wanted to go. And I guess I kind of made that limitation for myself because I could have gone to vet school in another state, but I didn't really want to, because being a first generation college student and like being able to graduate without student debt the first time around, I didn't really want to dig myself a hole in getting a doctorate out of state. And so that was when I found hygiene. I was like, something where I can work, flexible hours, have a family, and still make good money. In school, I saw a lot of perio patients, but the thing that I noticed about most of them, majority of the time, is that they're elder people. And I feel like that's the group of, or like the demographic of people that I really enjoy working with the most, is because, I don't know, older people are they're great. And they have the best stories and the best advice. Like I love asking some of my patients who are like 93 or 98 years old, like, what's your life advice? Or like, what's your secret, And the answers you get are just incredible. Like some people's responses they kill me. And so I'm glad that I ended up where I did. But I will say sometimes I still miss like the clinical setting of vet med and like being able to help animals. But I think that I get that through cattle so much that it's like, it's still a part of where I am. So roundabout journey, but here I am. So my third year, like I told myself, I'm going to give it 3 years to get into Oregon State. And I was pretty much doing everything like that I told it to. Like I went to the same school that the doctors I worked with went to. Like that was a big reason why I went to EOU. And I got letters from them. I did everything I thought I needed to do, but it just still wasn't enough. And so after my third year, I remember I was at my sister's rehearsal dinner for her COVID wedding when I got my third email saying like, oh, you haven't even received an interview. You're not going to get in like XYZ, like you're not. And so at that point, I reached out to my best friend Piper because she had been admitted to vet school, decided that it wasn't for her, and she changed her entire career as well. And I kind of talked about it with my husband. I was like, what else could I do with the degree that I already have? because I received a bachelor's degree in molecular biology with a minor in chemistry and a minor in animal science, because that kind of covered everything that I needed to become a vet, or to at least apply for the program. And I reached out to Piper, and I was talking to Mike, and he, we were just like, Mike's like, oh, you could be a nurse. Like you could do this, you could do that. And I'm like, I don't really know what I want. And I kind of looked at what would be best for the lifestyle I wanted to live. And that's how I found hygiene. I went online and I kind of did some researching about what can I do to have a really good life to work balance? Because I will say that is something that I noticed in vet med the most, is that I feel like I would have been very married to that job, because it's hard to leave your patients at work. Like it's hard to leave work at work when you're going home and you're stressing out about like, oh my gosh, is that part of a puppy gonna make it to the next day? So I talked to Mike and I talked to my best friend, and she had actually just got accepted into the program. And she said, oh, look into hygiene. Like it's a great career. It's a 2.5-year program. Like just look into it. And that's kind of how I kind of initially found it. But the in-between, the guessing, the wondering like, wow, what am I gonna do? You have those feelings of like, wow, like I'm a failure. And I think it was even harder being a twin, because we were both applying to professional programs or doctorate programs at Oregon State. And of course, my twin sister got in her first year at the pharmacy school. And I, after 3 years, still couldn't get into the vet school. So that was hard. And I feel like that's something that still kind of sticks with you. Like there's things it's like, why was I not successful in that? But I think the thing that stuck the most with me is that I feel like there's a reason for that. There was a reason that vet med didn't work out. There's a reason why I am where I am. And I don't necessarily think it's like a God thing, but more of like the creator had a plan for me, and that was not down that avenue. Maybe it's a part of my life, but I think that somewhere along the line, I would have been engulfed by that career, and it would have like overwhelmed me to the point where it would have been almost too much. Because this sticks with you, like the losses, they stick with you. Like I could tell you right now, like the first Parvoy puppy I saw, when it was, what her name was, everything. And so it was hard, like trying to, pick yourself up and put the pieces together to be like, okay, what am I gonna do? Yeah, so being a first generation college student is very hard. I was very fortunate to have my twin sister, so like we could do all of our scholarships together, and like we could know like, okay, OSAC is due this time, and the foundation scholarships through like whatever college we were attending, like this is due then. I think one of the hardest things is trying to get your parents to understand what it's like to actually be in college, because they don't know what it's like, and you can't really talk to them about what it's like either, because they haven't experienced it. And so the costs of college, like I remember my dad would be like, oh my gosh, it costs how much? Like, and he was just, like, books are how much money? And it was just like, there's that gap, because the knowledge isn't there. And it's a lot of pressure, because you want to be successful, and you want to, you want to make your family proud, which I feel like my family, I was really lucky, because my mom, like, I remember there were times in high school when I like did really bad on a test or something, and she'd be like, it's okay, Michelle, like, it's at least you didn't get a 0. Like that was my mom. Like she was kind of soft, but it's definitely a lot of pressure. But I guess, I don't know, I feel like I've always had that mindset that if you want something, you have to work for it. And that's to me what being a first generation student was. And I think that's how I have been. Now I have 2 bachelor's degrees, and with that I have 2 minors. I got my CDL, and I'm completely debt free. I graduated college with no student loans, nothing. And I feel like that's because I put my nose down and I did the work, and I worked really hard at getting scholarships, and the tribe was a big help in that. The higher education department for our tribe is incredible. They are constantly in contact with you. They're a phone call away. And I know that I would not be where I am completely student loan free if it weren't for them, because like their higher education program and the funding that they set aside for their tribal youth is like, it's a game changer for students. And I'm super thankful for that. I don't know if other tribes have that within their funding programs or it's allotted for anything like that, but it's definitely made a difference in my college education, 100%. My number one advice, not just for high school students, anybody, it's never too late to start over. I don't care if you're 18 years old and you're just graduating, or you're 22 and you already got a bachelor's degree and you have no idea why you did or what you even got, why you got it in psychology. Maybe you wanted to be working in the psychology field, but maybe you want to go spray weeds. I don't know what you want to do, but it's never too late to start over. And I am living proof of that. I have started over many times. I've had many different career paths, and I am very happy where I'm at. And the other career paths that I took to get where I am now have opened so many other doors that I could use throughout the rest of my life. Like, I could use my CDL for anything. I could use it for being out on a wildfire, for working one day a week for a company in town who needs me to drive dump truck. Like, it's never too late to start over and start new. And you have to want it. You have to be the one who works for it. You can't sit there and be like, well, I don't know why I didn't get, well, Timmy over there got a scholarship. No, you gotta go online and you gotta put in the work. Sorry, I'm not here to be no sissy la la. Like, I don't know how to say it without sounding like I'm being mean, but it's like, work with the people around you. Use your counselors, use your, the people in your schools, your high schools, the area, maybe your community that can show you the way to, like, okay, here are these scholarships. Maybe you live in a community, an area where you have a community college and you can apply to, foundation scholarships. So you're planning on attending a local JC college. Like, it just, take the time to put in the work and do the scholarships and take it seriously. And the other thing is, if you don't know what you want to do, take the basics and let it sit, because I know so many people, this is probably bad advice, that I've known so many people that have gone to school for something who they're like, oh yeah, well, I don't really know what I want to do, but I'm going to take classes down this avenue. And then they end up doing something completely different because they didn't really know if that was what they wanted. And they spent I shouldn't say that, because it can be and can't be a waste of time. So it's hard for me to justify that statement. But take the time to put in the work, and don't be scared to follow your dreams either, because I mean, look at me. I applied to vet school 3 different times and I never got into the program I wanted to, and I went for it. It didn't work out for me, but I'm still okay. You still move on, and you still continue to learn, and life still passes by even in the midst of it all. So I would just say, it's never too late to start over. It's never too late to find a new career and move towards something that you feel is going to make you more successful. But at the end of the day, if you have a failure, you just have to remind yourself, yeah, go ahead and take the time to be sad about it, but remember that there has to be something more, and there's a reason where you're at, and you have to have faith in that, and you have to be able to push forward from your failures and knowing this didn't work out. What am I going to do now? What's my next step? And if you need to talk to school counselors or your family or your friends or whoever it is in your life that you feel like is going to be the most beneficial person to speak to, do that and talk to them every day and make a plan. That's so important in doing, to figure out where you want to end up. So hopefully there's enough there for you to edit out.